Thank you to Braden and to Braden's parents for allowing me to share this video with you called Autistic Son Doesn't Like the Grocery Store, available via YouTube's Creative Commons license. Hopefully my analysis will help Braden and his parents further, and you can learn a lot about training your child too by what you observe here. Hi, I'm Parent Power Pete. The title of the video is most appropriate. Braden clearly does not like the grocery store. Let's see.
Braden, come here. Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me. Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay. No dancing. I want you to be walking. Hands down.
Let's have a look at the video again, this time with my comments added.
Come here. Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Why does he have to look at his dad? He clearly doesn't want to.
Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay. No dancing.
Why no dancing? It seems to be relieving his stress, which is pretty severe.
I want you to be walking.
Why?
Hands down.
Why? What's his dad trying to achieve with these constant corrections? If you asked his dad what he hoped to gain from this kind of training, he'd probably tell you that by stopping Braden's odd behaviours, Braden will at least appear to be normal. Maybe his dad also hopes that if Braden keeps practicing the appearance of normality, that Braden will eventually become normal. Well, Braden probably will learn to display only correct behaviours in the end, and to bottle up all the incorrect ones, which unfortunately are the very ones that give him his badly needed pressure release. How would you feel about that? To be told all the time to bottle up your tension like holding down a lid on a boiling pot. How would you like to be taught that the things you usually want to do are wrong and you don't understand why they're wrong? And how would you feel about being constantly corrected? What would that do to your confidence, let alone your sanity? Now, I don't think I'm having a go at Braden's parents. Far from it, because we all overcorrect our children. And I'm grateful to them for sharing this video, as I said earlier. It's so helpful to look at someone else's example, so we can more easily see what happens when we overcorrect too. So thank you again. To conclude, if we adopt this corrective style of training, what results can we reasonably expect? Are we really happy if, after the correcting, all we get from Braden and our children is they've learnt to display the outward appearance of normality? Can we really expect our children, therefore, to become normal using this approach if they're just going through the motions of normal behaviour without the necessary understanding of what's really deeply involved? I'll leave you to answer that. And all this might seem like tough love, but sometimes you need to convince yourself that things aren't working well enough and that you're going to make the effort to change for the better. Well, is there a better way of training our children? You betcha! The best training is my Parent Power Real World Training, which you can access at any time you like by clicking the link below this video. For the sake of this video, we'll reduce the training down to 4 basic steps as follows. The first step in better training is to start focusing on our child and his or her needs, not on behaviour and continually correcting it. It's only after proper understanding of anything that you can then make plans for improvement. Step 2, provide structure for your child. Then the most productive step, step 3, provide some real-world training. This is where we motivate our child to want to leave their own world using the reward of playing fun games with us. And finally, be aware of the need for rest and provide it. So how do these steps apply to Braden and the grocery store? So step 1, we focus on our child, not on his or her behaviour. By looking at the child, not the behaviour, we can see immediately that Braden is overwhelmed by the huge amount of sound and visual information in the grocery store. Notice how Braden's stress increases when his dad demands that Braden look at him. Looking at faces imposes a huge amount of extra visual pain to an oversensitive person. So you wouldn't do it if you knew of better ways to train your youngster, right? See how that extra distress makes him flap and dance even more. So the result of understanding Braden is that whatever training we do at the grocery store, it has to be brief and undemanding, as we can make it to keep his overwhelm to a minimum. In the same way that understanding Braden is the best way to help him, understanding your child is the best way for you to start helping him or her better. Another benefit of understanding our children is we can then set up our training to suit their needs better, and therefore they'll end up getting more out of it and trusting us more. And trust is such an essential part of effective training. Next, we provide structure to remove Braden's uncertainty about what's happening around him now and what's going to happen to him in the future, because being withdrawn he doesn't know. So we tell Braden exactly how long we're going to be in the store. We could even give him a personal clock for better control, and we must stick to the time limit and get out of the store when we say we will, because trust is the most valuable thing we can grow in our child. We could involve him in the decision making right from the start. He seems verbal enough, so together we could decide how long he can stand being in the store. That way he buys into the training. At the end, we can make Braden really happy by celebrating his achievement of successfully staying in the store of his own choice, which is an achievement he can understand. This is part of the long haul and the successful haul towards making a less autistic child. Naturally, over time, we'll extend how long Braden can tolerate being in the grocery store, to challenge and to stretch him, which is part of what good training is all about. And finally, we get into real-world training, which is to motivate our child to want to leave own world in order to play games with us in the real world. What games will we play with Braden in the grocery store? We find out what food Braden likes. We make it clear it's somewhere in the store, maybe by showing him a picture of it from our phones, so that he can plan ahead as to where to find it. When we go to the store, we give Braden some directions about where to find it, maybe hot and cold, like warmer, 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 but we don't lead him to it. We make sure that he makes personal effort to locate it, because doing this requires him to enter the real world to find it. And when he finds it himself, he'll also have an increased sense of achievement and pride. Once he finds the item, we give him praise and leave. With this approach, Braden now has a purpose while in the store, a reward of finding the item and maybe eating it, and less fear of the store. Most importantly, he has entered the real world in order to achieve these successes, so he is now associating entering the real world with pleasure, and that is the essence of real world training. There are other grocery store games we can play with Braden, but this video has gone way over time and we still have the last step to look at. So the last step, step 4, is for you to be more conscious of the need for rest. Especially when your youngster first makes the effort to enter the real world, he or she will find it tiring. So it's up to you to notice when that happens and to provide some well-earned rest. We might piggyback our child for a while, for example, which provides some really nice pressure release, if you can do it. Or if in a grocery store like Braden, possibly put him or her in the trolley, but in general provide some wind-down relief. We need to recognise in general that our children need more own-world retreat than others because of their extra stresses. Note that with real-world training, we don't disparage own-world retreat. We respect it, and we use it as a helpful companion and sometimes as a reward. I hope you've enjoyed and benefited from this video. You'll understand more of the real-world training techniques when you visit the Mild Autism site. Details are below. And remember my offer to review your situation, like this one, by video if you send me an email. My contact details are on the website. I look forward to communicating with you again.